Right, look, the game has just ended, a 0-0 draw against Ajax at the Johan Cruyff Arena in Amsterdam. Let's talk Euro Villa. So, my first thoughts and observations on the game, as you can see in the title, did they pick up that referee from like the local Lidl? Is he an actual referee? Is he qualified? Let me see his badges, because I think that there were some awful decisions that went against Villa. There were some awful decisions that went against Ajax. A game that didn't really get that feisty, and 2 players have been sent off, including a ridiculous sending off for Konsa. And let's break Konsa's red card down, just to start off with. The first one, he's clearly fouled. He's shoved in the back, so he grabs the ball, as every single player does. Yellow card for handball and a free kick to Ajax. An absolutely mind-blowing decision. His second yellow card, him and Agpom, I think it was, or Brobby, having a tussle. Brobby has hold of Konsa's arm like this and pulls him down, and in the process falls down as well. And it's given as a second yellow card and a red card. It was mind-boggling, the decisions from the referee. Zaniolo backs into his man like this and gets a yellow card for doing it. And then Watkins gets whacked in the head by an elbow/hand, where the player leads with his arm and hand, and it wasn't even given as a foul. Douglas Luiz was fouled about 4 times, no foul given, but as soon as a Villa player touched an Ajax player, foul given. And then similarly, an Ajax, I think it was Longley that was tackled on the edge of the box, never a foul given. Like, it just, honestly, it made no sense. I think the last 5 games that Aston Villa have played, the referees have been so bad. I actually think I could go out there and do a better job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. I don't know where they're finding these referees. I just hope for a better referee on the return leg to Villa Park. But overall, the performance itself, which we'll get onto a little bit later, was what it was. We haven't been fantastic in Europe. We've been grinding results, but we haven't been brilliant. But anyway, we'll get onto that in a little bit. Let's get into my player ratings for Villa's 0-0 draw with Ajax coming up next. So we bring up the starting lineup here and we go through our player ratings. Emi Martinez, I'm going to say, is probably my man of the match. No one had a special game or an outrageous game. Everyone was pretty average, as the 0-0 draw does suggest. But Emi Martinez made a crucial couple of saves to keep us in that game. Clearly our best player on the pitch for me, and he gets an 8. Moving out to left back, Luca Digne had a quiet game, probably a 5 for him. In the middle, Pau Torres was a little bit sloppy with a couple of passes. I don't think he's back to full fitness yet in the first half before he came off, so he gets a 6 for me. Similarly with Longley, sloppy at times, but in the end of the day kept a clean sheet against a good Ajax team, so he gets a 6 as well for me. And then Konsa, obviously, it was never a sending off for me in a million years, but you shouldn't be putting yourself in those types of positions. Not the most assured performance he's ever given in his life. Obviously, he had to go from right back to centre back. Gets a 5 from me. Moving out to left mid, Morgan Rogers, I actually thought had a pretty decent game. A couple of good touches of the ball. Again, a little bit sloppy in giving the ball away, but definitely promising signs. I can see why Emery signed him and does like him as a player. Gets a 6 from me. Moving into the midfield, we start with Tim Arogbenham. Not the best performance, came off injured eventually in the 78th minute. Looks like he just was like, oh, that was a terrible pass, let me just hold my leg. I'm not sure if he was 100% faithful with his injury, but a 5. Gave the ball away too much for me, but did show glimpses of why we think he could be a good young player for the future. And then next to him, Douglas Luiz gets another 6. Probably one of our better players in terms of progressing the ball, but didn't really have much to aim for going forward, because in general we set up very, very defensively that game. And then moving on to the right, Diaby is so frustrating. Showed flashes of brilliance. I think he should have done better with his chance in the first half. He eventually ended up putting it directly into the keeper's arms. And just, a little bit frustrating for me, a 5 for him. Moving up front, Watkins again, 5. He literally hardly got any touches of the ball. He was so isolated up there. I don't think you can really say too much about that. And then next to him, Yuri Tielemans tried again, but was very, very isolated in terms of the amount of touches he had. And probably just, your standard 5 as well for him. In terms of the subs, the one that really, played enough to get a rating would be Matty Cash, and I'll give him a 5. He got a yellow card that I didn't really think was a yellow card again. The ref was just terrible. and then didn't really do much else in the game, to be fair. Gave the ball away a couple of times, a little bit sloppy. And then all the other subs, you can just chuck a 5 on them as well, because they weren't really on long enough to impact the game in any sort of sense where they'd be sort of worth a rating, if that makes sense. In general, everyone played very average. Let's get into the match stats, what I think of the game in general in terms of the play. We've got the referee out of the way. The referee should never referee a football game again. But let's get into the game itself. And here, as you can see, the match stats. Really, not much to it at all. We set up very, very defensively, and you can tell that from these stats. To be fair, 5 shots for Ajax, 1 shot for Villa, 1 on target. 4 shots for Villa, 1 on target for both teams. Ajax dominated the possession, getting 60%. Nearly doubling our passes. Pass accuracy was better. They committed more fouls than us. 3 yellow cards for them, 4 for us. A red card apiece. No offsides for us, 4 for them. And we doubled their corners. In regards to the game itself, look, if you would have said to most Villa fans, you can bring Ajax back to Villa Park, it's going to be 0-0 and we just need to win at Villa Park, I think most Villa fans would have bitten your hand off. I understand that Emery clearly set the team up defensively. I think that was clear for anyone to see. But I think it's just always a little bit disappointing in these big European nights when we're not going for it. But this is how Rafa Benitez made a career, making Liverpool a tough, nasty team to play, grinding out 0-0s and 1-0s, and eventually, it got them the Champions League against all odds. And I think that's probably what Emery's trying to do here, make us resolute. It's a clean sheet, which is something that we haven't been actually getting a lot of recently. And like I say, we bring Ajax back to Villa Park 0-0. It's always disappointing when your team doesn't really... I think it looked like they didn't show up, but clearly the game plan was to frustrate Ajax and bring that result back to Villa Park, maybe get a goal on the counter-attack if we could. So I think overall, it's worked. The game plan has worked. And look, I'm just a geezer sat in his living room kitchen in my house saying that we played a bit poorly, but Emery's a proven Europe winning manager, and he clearly knows what he's doing, so I'm trusting in that process. We haven't lost, which is the important thing. We're not going back to Villa Park with a deficit in aggregate to catch up on. We're going back, level playing field, with 40,000+ Villa fans behind the boys, under the lights on a Thursday. It's going to be special. We need to really get behind the boys, and I'll be previewing that game for you guys probably on Monday afternoon, so look out for that one. That will come out on Monday afternoon. Got another video coming out later this week, and then a couple next week, Villa related as well. As always, guys, up the Villa. Drop your comments down below. What do you think of the Aston Villa game, and what do you think, more importantly, of that referee? Are there going to be people waiting for him in the car park after the game? Probably his peers after that performance, to be honest with you. But as always, guys, up the Villa. Be nice to everyone, and I will see you guys soon for more Villa Chats.